In this problem, it says that we have a bag of 310 chocolate candies and 32 of them are brown. The candy company claims that 13% of the plain chocolate candies are brown. So we want to use the range rule of thumb to identify the limits separating numbers of brown chocolate candies that are significantly low and those that are significantly high. So what we'll do is we'll calculate the mean and the standard deviation. On this number line, I start by placing the mean in the center, and then I can find the mean plus 1 standard deviation and the mean plus 2 standard deviations, and then go backwards, the mean minus 1 standard deviation and the mean minus 2 standard deviations. So what the range rule of thumb says is that if we are at or below the mean minus 2 standard deviations, then we have a value that is significantly low. And if we have a value that is at or above the mean plus 2 standard deviations, then we have a value that is significantly high. And if we're somewhere in the middle, then we have a value that is not significant. So that's what we're going to figure out here. So we know that we have 310 candies, and we're told that the probability of getting a brown candy is 13%. So based on that, I calculate the mean by taking n times p, and that's 310 times 0.13, and that gives me 40.3. Then I calculate the standard deviation. Now that is the square root of n times p times 1 minus p, or q, depending on what formula you use. So this is the square root of 310 times 0.13 times 1 minus 0.13. And that turns out to be 5.9 if we round to 1 decimal place. So now I can fill in the values on my number line. I'm going to take out the mean and put in 40.3. I'm going to take out the mean plus 1 standard deviation, and I am going to get 46.2. Just by adding the 40.3 and the 5.9. And then the mean plus 2 standard deviations is going to be 52.1. Now we'll go backwards. Subtracting 5.9 from 40.3 is going to give us 34.4. And then the mean minus 2 standard deviations gives me 28.5. Okay. So when the first question says what values are significantly low, that would be anything at or below 28.5. So that's what we have here. Now let's take a look at the second part of that question. So we want to see what values are significantly high and I just pasted that number line back here. So anything at or above 52.1 would be significantly high. And finally, it says, based on the results, is the result of 32 brown chocolate candies significantly low? Why or why not? So I look at my number line. Where would the 32 fall? It would be somewhere about here, between the 28.5 and the 34.4. So that is in the area that is not significant because it's falling between our two limits. So I would choose answer choice B for that. Now it asks us to find the probability of exactly 32 brown chocolate candies. So here's where I'm going to use my binomial PDF function in the calculator. So we're calculating the probability of exactly 32 successes. And so because there's only the one value here, that's when I use binom PDF. The number of candies is 310. The probability of an individual success is 0.13. And we are looking for the probability of getting exactly 32 successes. So when we calculate this, we get 0.0261. Next, it asks for the probability of 32 or fewer brown chocolate candies. So now we're finding the probability of anywhere from 0 to 32 successes. Now, since this is a range of values, we're going to use the binom CDF function, the cumulative function. So again, we have 310 that we're choosing from, or I should say that are in the sample, and 13% probability of getting a brown M&M, and the maximum number of successes is 32. So it looks almost like what we just did, but the big difference is that here it was PDF because it was specifically for that single number of 32, and now we have CDF because we're going all the way from 0 to 32. And so this turns out to be 0.0909. So in the next question, it asks which probability is relevant for determining whether the result of 32 brown chocolate candies is significantly low. So in this case, we always look at the probability of being at or below a particular number in order to determine if that number is significantly low. So we want the probability from part C, and from there we had 0.0909, and that is greater than 5%. So we would say the result of 32 brown candies is not significantly low. So we're getting the same result as we do with the range rule of thumb. And then finally it says, what do the results suggest about the 13% claim by the candy company? So when we look at the results, the 13% claim would indicate that there are about 40.3 brown M&Ms per package on average. And we got 32. Now that's not the same as 40, but it's not far enough away to indicate that that 13% is wrong. So while we can't say the results give us strong evidence to defend that claim of 13%, we would say the results do not provide strong evidence that the claim is wrong. So we're going to say the results do not provide strong evidence against the claim that 13% of chocolate candies are brown. So that's what we get for our final result for that problem.